Good evening. Welcome to the Big Story. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Gretchen Ho.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
Tonight's big stories. The Marcos administration passes two landmark maritime laws that will reinforce the country's rights in the West Philippine Sea and also penalize those who infringe on our domain.
As expected, the signing of these laws angered China, with Beijing summoning the Philippine ambassador to China to lodge solemn representations.
And Philippine ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez, warns of mass deportations under the second Donald Trump administration. His advice to undocumented Filipinos: leave now.
President Bongbong Marcos has signed two landmark laws that give more weight to the Philippines' claim over the West Philippine Sea. These are the Philippine Maritime Zones Act and the Philippine Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act. Marcos said these are aligned with the United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS.
With these pieces of legislation, we align our domestic laws with international law, specifically the UN Convention on the Law of the Seas, or UNCLOS, to improve our capacity for governance and reinforce our maritime policies for economic development and for national security.
Under the Philippine Maritime Zones Act, or Republic Act 12064, domains and exclusive economic zones will be clearly identified. From internal waters, islands, continental shelf, down to rocks that are within the Philippines' jurisdiction. It also defines the maximum extent of territorial sea, which is 12 nautical miles, contiguous zone, 24 nautical miles, EEZ at 200 nautical miles, and the continental shelf. The law establishes the country's rights to explore and exploit living and non-living resources in the zones, penalizing those who violate it. On the other hand, the Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act, or RA 12065, will designate sea routes and airspace suitable for the continuous and expeditious passage of foreign ships and aircraft through or over its archipelagic water and the adjacent territorial sea. It is meant to prevent arbitrary passage within the Philippine domain.
Our people, especially our fisherfolk, should be able to pursue their livelihood free from uncertainty and harassment. This is essential in establishing the extent of our maritime jurisdiction and to ensure that our rights and duties as an archipelagic state are well defined in order that all Filipinos can rightfully enjoy the riches of our seas.
The IRR, or implementing rules and regulations for the new laws, have yet to be released. But this early, President Marcos has ordered the review of existing regulations at both the national and local levels so agencies can adjust the rules accordingly. In line with this, the government is also releasing a new map that will include the whole of the West Philippine Sea. Benham Rice will also be included in the map and will be renamed Talampas ng Pilipinas. Now, whether or not Beijing will recognize Manila's new laws and map is another story. Filipino officials are already expecting a hostile reaction from China.
The other side, China is not recognizing this, will not recognize this. Pero the recognition, the imprimatur that we will be getting from the international community would strengthen our position.
Ang malaking pagkakaiba dito, ang ating mga maps will have the legal basis supported by existing laws. Yung tungkol sa ginawa ng China, I'm not sure about that.
True enough, Beijing is not happy. This afternoon, it summoned Philippine ambassador to China, Jaime Flor Cruz, to protest the move.
The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs has summoned the Philippine ambassador to China to lodge solemn representations over the so-called Maritime Zones Law and Archipelago Sea Lanes Law issued by the Philippines.
Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said the Maritime Zones Law illegally includes most of China's Huangyan Island and Nansha Islands and related maritime areas in the Philippines' maritime zones. Huangyan is what the Chinese call Scarborough Shoal, and Nansha Islands is what it calls the Spratly Islands. Beijing has, of course, continued to reject the 2016 arbitral ruling, which invalidated their 9-dash line. Since then, Chinese and Philippine Coast Guard have been involved in a number of clashes and incidents in the West Philippine Sea, particularly in Ayungin or Second Thomas Shoal and Escoda or Sabina Shoal. China called today's signing a serious infringement and warned Manila to, quote, stop taking unilateral actions that may lead to the widening of dispute.
China urges the Philippines to earnestly respect China's territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests. Immediately stop taking any unilateral actions that may lead to the expansion of disputes and complicate the situation. And earnestly maintain peace and stability in the South China Sea. China reserves the right to take necessary measures.
State-run TV CGTN has covered the story with a headline that reads, Philippines passes maritime laws challenging China's sovereignty. It quoted a Chinese expert who said that the law exceeds the authority granted under international law and unlawfully restricts the legitimate rights of other countries, making it non-binding on China and other nations, thereby raising the likelihood that Beijing will not recognize these new laws either. And while President Marcos was signing the new maritime laws, Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel B. Romualdez, was giving an interview where he was asked about the future of Washington's commitment to the Philippines under the second Trump presidency.
First of all, I think we have to remember that since 2017, when I was appointed ambassador, it was during that time that the defense establishment during Trump's presidency, that is when the word ironclad was extensively used, especially by then State Secretary Mike Pompeo. That commitment, I think, will stay. The policy of the United States will remain the same in the Indo-Pacific region, specifically in the South China Sea.
Let's delve into this a little bit more. We have with us tonight National Maritime Council spokesperson, retired Vice Admiral Alexander Lopez. Welcome back to The Big Story.
Good evening, ladies, and also good evening to our televiewers.
Vice Admiral, we do know that two crucial bills were passed today, the Philippine Maritime Zones Act and the Philippine Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act. I know this clears out things and puts a certain officiality to what we call is our territory and within the EEZ of the Philippines and also the other zones, the maritime zones. But how will these two laws change things on the ground?
Well, actually, for one, we had this laws passed, and it will strengthen actually our national security and also contribute to the overall welfare of the Filipinos. How? We have defined the maritime zones and the archipelagic sea lanes. And with this, we can effectively enforce relevant laws as well as related international laws. And thereby, we are protecting on a much better plane our marine and fish resources, preserve and conserve our marine environment, as well as enhance maritime safety and security. So basically, it's for us, not for anybody else, and not for any other country. It's for our purposes, for our national interest.
Very, very curious about the Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act. We do know that you define here passage within the archipelago, but is this focused on the territorial sea and also as well as the airspace above that territorial sea? Ano po yung sakop ng Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act?
Yeah, basically the Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act, it will allow us to identify particular sea lanes within our archipelagic waters where foreign vessels can still pass, but we will be able to monitor them. We will be able to detect them. And of course, with that, we can really ensure our national security. Unlike before, that they can pass anywhere, they can go anywhere, and it is our security is vulnerable. For example, if they will be doing anything illegal, they can do it anywhere. And with the passage of the act, we can identify where they can only pass. And mas madali yung ating pagmamonitor and pagdidetect sa
Ano
kanila.
po yung archipelagic sea lanes? Kasi po, sa loob po ba yun, territorial sea, internal waters, or kasama po doon yung EEZ?
No. The maritime zones, actually, we have determined those that are going beyond yung palabas, no? We have determined or defined our territorial seas, meaning the 12 nautical miles outward, no, basing from our baseline. And then the contiguous zone from the baseline, this is actually 24 nautical miles, and up to the 200 nautical miles of our EEZ. The archipelagic waters are basically all the waters inside naman, no? Inside naman. So, for example, the east of Palawan, that's the Celebes Sea, and going down. So basically, these are the archipelagic waters. Going up to the Balintang Channel, these are all archipelagic waters.
Okay.
Meaning nasa loob sila ng
Territorial sea.
ating territory. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And paano naman natin i-disseminate na may ganito na, as we understand, Vice Admiral, ito po ay domestic law. Ma-apply ba to agad sa lahat ng mga radar, may mga parang ways ng mga barko, or will you disseminate it to your counterparts in other countries? And how soon will this be binding?
Well, basically it's too technical, no? So we'll try to make it on layman's term, so that more can understand it easily. Just like any law, it has to pass, about 15 days before its full enactment. And pagdating dun sa archipelagic sea lanes, we are actually passing it or having the International Maritime Organization recognize it. Kumbaga, idudulong natin sa kanila for its approval, because there are several states that use our seas, and then kumbaga idadali natin sila doon for the IMO to approve or not. So this is actually a tedious process being observed at the International Maritime Organization. Hindi actually kagad pwedeng implement unless they have this authority for us to implement the law.
But in the waters, especially in the contentious areas, Vice Admiral, are we expecting some backlash? I was going to say on the ground, but on the water, because China has already reacted and has summoned our ambassador to China already, to the foreign ministry. Do we expect any heightened tensions?
Well, the concern actually of the Chinese in particular are actually on the maritime zones. Kasi pagdating doon sa archipelagic waters, atin yun it's really inside. So wala silang pakialam doon. No? Pwede lang makialam yung international community is pag na-determine na natin ang ating archipelagic sea lanes. So basically, ang consider to make it layman, doon lang sila pwedeng dumaan, and they can go through there in the normal mode of transport in above the water and in the air. So yung ang worry ng China, nagre-react sila doon sa ating maritime zones, like beyond our territorial seas, no, so contiguous zone and up to the EEZ. Actually, even without the two laws passed, nagre-react naman sila. So kasi they think, no, they believe that the air is theirs, no. Pero again, we are anchoring our sovereign rights and jurisdiction on UNCLOS and the 2016 arbitral ruling. So we have just enacted this law para talang ma-define talaga ang ating where our territory, contiguous zone, and EEZ for purposes of, again, for the international community, para maging basis na rin kung ano pa pag nag-draw tayo ng the most updated maps of the Philippines.
You talked about monitoring the sea lanes better. There's also concerns over that it may impinge on freedom of navigation. Also, the law provides for penalties for those who violate who infringe on our domain given these new laws. So what sort of penalties are these, and how do you expect to monitor the sea lanes better?
Yeah, as I was saying a while ago, if the International Maritime Organization finally approves or considers our ASL, and then that's the only time that we really can implement it, enforce it, and with the violations, for example, we can file them in the proper courts. Insofar as monitoring or implementing the act, um, presently we have the capability. Actually, we have the capability to monitor them. We have the capability to detect them. Ang maganda dito sa pinasang law is we have identified 3 points, choke points, so to speak. So the capability of our forces, the capability of our Coast Guard and other law enforcement agencies, we can enforce the law. The law actually also provides these agencies for more capability development.
Yeah. Vice Admiral, what were the 3 choke points that you mentioned?
I just get my that's one in the north and in the south. So hold on.
Actually, tama po
Just to
kayo
be sure,
nakakwento sa atin yan na namomonitor naman yung pumapasok sa sea lanes natin, pati sa airspace natin. The problem lies in what to do when they actually get into our airspace and our sea lanes. Paano natin hahabulin ba natin? Mabigyan natin ng penalty.
Do we board their boats?
Ayun ang question, ano?
Or we just
Anong
get the...
mangyayari sa kanila?
Or nare-record lang yung parang license nung vehicle.
Yeah. Anyway, just to answer the 3 points actually, the 3 sea lanes, the one passing from the east, the Philippine Sea, it goes to the Balindang Channel in the north and goes to the West Philippine Sea going to the west. The other sea lane is from Celebes, the east of Palawan Island. It will go down to the Cebu Passage sa south, and it will go down to the Sulu and Cuyo and going to the East Pass, Mindoro Strait, and West Philippine Sea. And the Sea Lane 3, again, Celebes, Basilan Strait, Sulu Sea, and Balabac Strait to West Philippine Sea. So basically, tatlo yon. So we'll be able, mas maganda yung tatlo, with our current capabilities, we'll be able to detect them. We will be able to monitor them, identify them. And if there are violations, we have enough assets for now to interdict them. Sabi nga, if they violated, we can board them because we are already enforcing domestic laws.
When you say choke points, Vice Admiral, do you mean ito yung part na parang start ng toll gate pero dagat version? What exactly do you mean by a choke point?
Yes, basically, yung choke point parang sa isang part doon, mayroong part doon na there can only be a small area. Of course, big enough for big ships to pass, So, doon lang silang pwedeng dumaan, parang imbudo, Parang gano'n. So, doon lang sila pwedeng dumaan. So, with that, we can simply detect them para bang checkpoint, Pag sinabing choke point, parang checkpoint din sa pagdating sa lupa sa ginagawa ng police. So, basically, those choke points are limerally similar to the checkpoints being done by our police, by our military dito sa lupa.
Vice Admiral, tama po ba that according to the law of the sea, that warships are allowed innocent passage in our territorial seas? Is that correct? And what would constitute innocent passage? Kapag nagtagal po sila, pag nagre-research sila, let's say sabihin na natin malapit sa Benham Rice, nagtagal sila doon, hindi na yun innocent passage, nabibilangan po ba natin ang tagal nila sa isang area?
Yeah. The scenario, Gretchen, kung wala pa itong ating Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act, they can actually enter our inland waters, so to speak, Pero before that, normally they have to inform our country or any other country that they would be entering into that they will pass, And then when it is granted, they can invoke the innocent passage principle, meaning continuous, expeditious, at hindi paliko-liko, no? And hindi unobstructed. Once they slow down or drop anchor or fly their airplanes that on board, yun, violation yun. In like manner, pag civilian vessel naman, um, they can also invoke the right of innocent passage, provided the three conditions, no? Expeditious, unobstructed, and continuous. So basically, those are the three conditions. Pag wala yung, kunyari, naglagay sila ng fishing net while crossing or passing through our inland waters, archipelagic waters, violation nyo. Pwede natin silang kasuhan o pwede silang hulihin or i-board. So basically, yun. Kaya nga, the importance or significance of coming up with archipelagic sea lanes, ma-identify natin, dito ka lang pwedeng dumaan, no? Beyond that, that's already a violation. Kasi pag wala nun, you can just imagine the vast expanse of our waters, mas mahihirapan tayo to detect them and interdict them when the case rises, when the need
Admiral?
arises.
I'm curious, so related to that, what are we doing now? Right now, is it just a ship can go through and just pass wherever? Is that what they're doing currently?
Yeah, basically, meron tayong yun nga yung dilemma na kasi natin. They can always invoke the right of innocent passage, basically anywhere. Meron tayong established, no? Pero again, for our purposes, to ensure our national security, pag ganun kasi, ang sabi ko kanina, our waters are too wide. And our assets are too little to cover such a vast expanse of maritime space. That's why when we defined this archipelagic sea lanes, actually this is 50 nautical mile wide, no? So kung sa gitna 25 miles to the left and 25 miles to the right. So the breadth of it is basically 50 nautical miles. Mas madali natin mamamonitor. And we can detect them the moment they enter our archipelagic waters, then they will pass through our designated archipelagic sea lanes. Doon mas maganda yung ating detection capability, our monitoring ability, and interdiction capability.
With the right to innocent passage, I was wondering how evenly we're going to be applying the law once it comes to pass. To put it crudely, are we going to be harder on China than we are on the United States, for instance? I mean, the United States also sometimes cites right to innocent passage in some of these expeditions.
Well, again, for one, before especially if they are warships,
Kahit
they have
allies.
to seek permission or inform our government through our Defense Department, if they are our military vessels, that they will be passing through our waters. And if they do not do that, then once we detect them while they are inside our waters, our maritime law enforcement units, our Navy, our Coast Guard, will challenge them, no? And we will be able to, monitor them, yung sasabayan natin sila hanggang makalabas sila sa ating territorial waters. So, ganun ka-tedious. That's why, hindi naman ganun karami ang ating assets. Nagiging thinly spread ang ating assets pag ganun ang sitwasyon. That's why we really need to have these archipelagic sea lanes enacted into law. And it's just a matter of time. Once we have brought this to the IMO for the necessary processing, and then once it's been approved, then that's the time we can really implement it and enforce it.
But again, it will apply to all countries evenly, not just
And
China.
dark ships also, I'm curious, pati dark ships ba mamamonitor natin? Because that's one of the problems. Ino-off daw yung AIS, Vice Admiral. With this new law, can we monitor even those na naka-off yung AIS?
Yeah. With our current capabilities, especially if they're inside our territorial waters, we have so many radars or equipment, that we can detect them. Definitely, That's one thing for sure. Ang mahirap lang kasi pag nasa labas, like yung sa outside nga, no,
Yeah.
medyo may. Pero actually, we have scattered radars, detecting equipment, sensors within our territorial or archipelagic waters.
Yeah. But again, Vice Admiral, yes or no, it will apply evenly to all countries?
I'm sorry?
It will apply evenly to all countries? The law will be applied evenly to all countries, not just China?
Yes, not only China.
Okay.
All foreign vessels, no?
Okay.
All foreign vessels. That's why the law is actually directed to foreign vessels passing
Thank you.
through our
Yeah.
archipelagic waters.
Thank
That's
you.
why we need to put them in the designated archipelagic sea lanes para hindi sila
Yeah.
pakalat-kalat, so to speak, no? Dapat nandito lang kayo.
Thank you, Vice Admiral. We just needed that confirmation.
Vice Admiral, actually marami pa kami tatanungin sa inyo, pero antayin na lang namin din yung IRR at yung mga detalye ng bagong mapa na yan. But for now, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have retired Vice Admiral Alexander Lopez, spokesperson of the National Maritime Council.
Philippine Ambassador Babes Romualdez may not think anything will change between Manila and Washington under the second Trump presidency, but he does have a warning to undocumented Filipinos still slugging it out there. Leave now. Camille Samonte has that report.
Still more than 2 months before President-elect Donald Trump goes back to the White House, but his cabinet is already taking shape. First on the list, his campaign manager and political strategist, Susan Wiles. She will be the first ever female chief of staff in the White House.
Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The ice baby, we call her the ice baby.
One of Trump's election promises was stricter immigration policy, and worries starting to creep in that Trump's return to the U.S. presidency will soon bring forth a mass deportation of illegal migrants. That's why as early as now, the Philippine Embassy in Washington is already warning undocumented Filipinos in the U.S. to leave the country instead of risking deportation.
Immediately leave voluntarily, because once you're deported, you can never come back to the United States. At least if you leave, there's always an opportunity or a chance that you'll be able to file at the right and just follow the rules and regulations of the country.
He says any Filipino staying in the U.S. illegally can seek help from the attaché of the Department of Migrant Workers at the Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C. But he clarified that the only assistance they can give is to give advice, not help them find a pathway to being legal.
If they have a potential roadmap to be able to stay in the United States legally, then we tell them, then get the right person to help you, a lawyer or whoever it is, and start the process. But if there is none, it's clear that there's only one way, so that you will have a chance to be able to apply legally, but you do not allow yourself to be deported. Because there are many cases where once you're deported, 99% you will never be able to come back to the United States.
Ambassador Romualdez also pointed out that it's not just in the U.S. Many other countries, for instance in Europe, have also recently tightened immigration policies. He says information is now shared among authorities, so it's not as easy to be AT&T or tago ng tago anymore.
All countries, and it's not only the United States. I understand even Canada right now, the neighboring country, Canada, and other countries as well, are already tightening their borders because the system can no longer take immigrants. They need legal immigrants and potentially people that will not burden the social system. You know, the TNTs, the people who are always hiding, will be discovered at some form or another because information is now shared by all departments, immigration, customs, the DHS, the TSA, all of this is now interconnected.
One of other things that Trump campaigned on was an America First policy, wherein he promised to bring back jobs to the U.S. This has sparked concerns among some quarters that it may affect the BPO industry, being that North America is still the Philippines' largest client by region. The industry employs nearly 1.9 million nationwide, but the ambassador says BPO shouldn't be affected.
I don't think so, because that's already an established fact that the call centers are really basically a digital or a part of the an established business that is already being farmed out by many companies, because the Philippines is a central point there. We've had this for quite a long time now, and I don't think that that's going to be severely affected. It's really more on the manufacturing side where I think that is being targeted by the incoming administration of President Trump.
Trump will be inaugurated at noon on January 20, 2025. For News 5, Camille Samonte, We Are One News.
Up next, Typhoon Marce leaves widespread damage as it hits Cagayan and other northern Luzon provinces last night. We'll get live updates on the ground when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're watching The Big Story here on One News. Typhoon Marce has now weakened as it moves away from the Philippines, but not before it battered several provinces in northern Luzon with violent winds and heavy rains. We have News 5's Mon Gualvez, who's reporting to us live now from Cagayan to give us an update on the ground. Mon, what can you tell us? Paint us a picture about how strong Typhoon Marce was as it passed there.
Well, Shawn, Typhoon Marce was characterized by strong rainfall and strong winds here in the province of Cagayan. Kanina nga when we visited Apari, kapansit-pansit pa rin that there are huge waves, no? Not just to compare yung almost 10 meters higher na storm surge na naranasan in the area that actually caused damages in some of the houses there. At the same time, some of the areas here in Cagayan are still inundated dahil nga sa dinulot naman nitong bagyo with much rainfall dito sa area. At saka umaapaw din yung Bugay River because of its silted situation right now. Kaya naman ito rin yung pinapanawagan ng local government sa DNR at saka sa DPWH that they can receive some clearances para nga mas ma-desilt na yung naturang river. And ang pinaka-problem ngayon din sa province is that almost half of the province is now suffering from no electricity at all due to the effects and damages brought by Typhoon Marce in the province.
Okay, but in terms of numbers, Mon, what has the provincial DRRMO have? How many casualties? Is anyone still missing? How many people are still displaced right now?
Fortunately, Shawn, there are no casualties in terms of death in the province. Pero merong isa na recorded wounded dyan sa may bayan ng Lalo town wherein nadulas sa evacuation center ang isang evacuee there. And then at the same time, meron dang silang mga reports na natatanggap in Claveria na meron daw mga casualties pero hindi pa verified by the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office of Cagayan. A total of 23,000 individuals yung sumatotal na mga nag-evacuate dito sa buong province ng Cagayan. It's almost 8,000 families ang talaga namang preemptive na nag-evacuate before the Typhoon Marce hit the province. Kaya naman ang kanilang mapagmamalaki is zero casualty in terms of death in the area. Shawn.
Okay, sa agrikultura, very quickly mo, na may natamaan ba? Or are we in between harvests right now? I understand rice is currently about to be planted.
Nako. Exactly, Shawn. You said it right, no? Talagang marami sa mga palayan dito aanihin na sana by the coming weeks, no? Or in December time, pero wala. Kasama itong nalubog sa tubig at binaha dito sa area. Most of the towns dito sa province ng Cagayan talagang farming ang isa sa mga kinabubuhay and even fishing. Pero kasama yan sa mga nalubog ng tubig na iniwan nga nitong bagyong Marce. Kaya naman they are suffering dito sa agriculture and even sa effects din sa fishermen. Although kinokolate pa yung data dito sa buong province in terms of how much yung damage na naiwan dito nga sa agriculture side. Shawn.
All right, well, good to hear, no, na zero casualties there in Cagayan. Thank you so much for that update. News 5's Mon Gualvez reporting to us live from Bugay in Cagayan.
Up next, have you seen this viral video of an SUV ruthlessly ramming down a pedestrian in BGC? Well, we'll be talking about that case with the Chief of Police of Taguig, Colonel Joel Goforth, when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You are still on the big story here in One News. Let's talk about this viral dashcam video of an incident that happened at the intersection of 5th Avenue, Rizal Drive in Bonifacio, Global City, Taguig yesterday, where a black SUV ran a red light and rammed a woman crossing the pedestrian lane. And first, I have to warn you, the video is graphic. The victim, who was on her way to work, sustained wounds on her arms and legs, and up to now she says she is still unable to report to work because of the accident. Despite this, the victim agreed to not file a complaint against the SUV and driver anymore, on the condition that he will pay for her medical expenses. But plot twist, Senator Raffy Tulfo featured this case in his program Wanted sa Radyo and found out that the victim was not fully aware of the settlement that she agreed to. Take a listen.
Hindi ko po alam na areglo na po yun. Yung mga, nung after po kasi namin sa ospital, nagpunta po kami sa Traffic Bureau para po mag-file po ng police report. Initially po, akala ko po yun, compensation po, initial compensation doon sa nangyari sa akin, na kung gugustuhin ko pong magkaso, if after ilang araw po, maaari ko pa pong gawin yun. Yun po yung akala ko. Pero nang sinabi rin po ng sa Traffic Bureau tayo, no? Na yun na daw po yung areglo daw po.
So let's delve into this a little bit more. We have with us tonight Colonel Joey Goforth, Chief of Police of Taguig City. Good evening, Colonel. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes, good evening, ladies, and thank you for having me on your show.
Colonel, you heard the soundbite of the victim. The police officer in charge who attended to this case, who made the woman sign the settlement, was he under you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what happened to that? What happened there?
Well, accordingly, the first responder on the scene are the BGC traffic and emergency medical teams. They were the first responder on the scene, and they acted swiftly by taking the victim to the hospital. It took them some time, because the incident happened at around 6:35 a.m. And it took them almost at least 5 hours, to report to the traffic unit of Taguig City Police. And their presence at the Taguig Traffic Unit is simply to have the incident officially recorded. Now, my investigator said that he could not have that incident recorded unless otherwise both parties would execute an affidavit narrating the incident. And the driver of the SUV admitted that he ran over the victim. Now, as to the issue on the that Nicole signed a agreement which she fully did not understood, well, I think the discernment of what influenced the investigator to act on the agreement is that because of the presence of the parents, she was assisted by her parents at that time, and they are actually the ones who facilitated the affidavit and as well as the settlement. Now, the father, there was a change of heart when the father was able to watch the viral video of his daughter being hit and move at least a few meters from where she was standing. And he felt a sudden shift of feeling and guilt, which he realized that the impact was too strong for anyone to handle, and believed that the driver should be taught a lesson.
So, the father of the victim, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Pero why is the SOP? Why did the police officer try to convince her to sign an affidavit right away? Was it the settlement? Ito ba yung arreglo that she was talking about? Bakit yun kaagad yung procedure here? Should it not be? Should she not have been informed that she has a right to a lawyer, that she has a right to file a case? Because she was in the right.
Yes,
She was
ma'am. Actually,
walking-
that was never that is not part of our protocol in traffic investigation. We do not encourage settlement, But of course, if both parties would like to settle it among themselves, the investigator would never be a part of it. The investigator would give them some time to talk and would request that their settlement or their agreement should be put into writing and have it notarized. So our investigator did not facilitate in any way to settle the case.
Okay, so just to be clear, Colonel Joey, if this happens to us, what should we do? Should we make sure that we write the affidavit first, have it notarized in the presence of, even before thinking about any possible settlement? Just for us to know, what should we do if we are the ones who encounter an accident like this?
Well, as I have said, ma'am, we do not encourage settlement.
Yeah.
I think it would be more appropriate for the case to go through a formal legal proceedings to ensure justice and proper compensation.
Yeah.
However, there are some instances wherein both parties are insisting because of the inconvenience that will be brought, because their presence is required during inquest proceedings. Now, in that case, if they do not want to undergo such inconvenience, then we will just recommend that the case will be filed directly without their presence.
Yes, but I don't think the police officer in charge in this case did that, did he? I mean, I don't think the victim in that state would have agreed to sign something right away. She posted about it. She said, hindi niya alam areglo na pala yun. She just thought that was the normal SOP. So again, my question here is, shouldn't the police officer handling this been more responsible?
Yes, and that's the reason that I have instructed them not to repeat this.
If the answer is yes, then what are we doing with him to also teach him a lesson? Because yes, I get the accountability is with the SUV driver, but you are in charge of enforcing the laws.
Right now, Mama, he's administratively being investigated, and as I have said, we are willing to amend our flaws, and we have actually contacted the victim, and we will facilitate the filing of the case.
Colonel, kung sakasakaling magbago, yun nga po may change of heart yung tatay, ano po yung mga maaaring maikaso dun sa SUV driver? And ano daw po yung disposisyon nung driver nung nakausap niyo po yung police yung nag-enforce po dito?
We could file a case of reckless imprudence resulting in physical injuries. And of course, nangyari ito noong November 6, so it's not proper for inquest na. But nonetheless, we will file the case against him.
And then lastly, Colonel, the broader question is how, by the way, I know that you just assumed your position 2 days ago, so congratulations, and I'm sorry we're talking to you under these circumstances right away. But now that you are the Chief of Police of Taguig, what are you going to do to make sure BGC is a safer city? And this is an issue that's close to our heart because 2 of us live there. And it's true that over the last several years, the residents, our neighbors, everyone has been complaining about how the roads aren't that safe anymore. Motorists just do not respect pedestrians, right? When, in fact, there's a law that says pedestrians always have the right of way. So what concrete steps are you going to take to bring back to ensure safety of the roads?
Well, yung first and foremost, to address yung the same thing to happen, we will have to undergo lahat ng ating traffic investigator for another seminar to remind them about the yung protocols in investigating traffic accidents, and of course, yung stricter enforcement of laws.
So, posible po yun na kung wari may pinirmahan, ay pwedeng bawiin.
Actually, it's
Ano
not
mangyayari
it's not a closed case naman eh. It's very clear naman that based on the report, that it is still open, that the status of the case is for record and for it could be filed naman. It's not we did not issue any report that it says that it is closed.
Okay. We will have to leave that there for now, but we'll check back in with you in a few months to see whether you have enforced the laws on a stricter basis. But thank you so much for joining us tonight, and congratulations again on your new post, Colonel Joey Goforth, Chief of Police of Taguig City.
And that's it. That's it for the big story on this Friday night. So I guess that's it for the week.
What do you know?
It is Friday.
We closed the week with 2 new laws. Actually, 3. Kasama mo dun yung Pogo ban.
Oh, yes, that's right. The
EO.
EO.
Signed by the president. I thought he was extremely, productive today.
Yes. He did a lot of signing, I think, today.
Well, it is a Friday. A happy weekend. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night and a great weekend.